Hello, this is Doug again. Today we're going to do a video. I'm going to show you guys how I'll make fig preserves. Now, I've never done this before, so we're going to learn as we go, I guess. And so one thing I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about, as we make preserves, just a little bit about safety. Things can happen in the kitchen, bad things sometimes, so you want to make sure you've got a fire extinguisher that's close at hand. You want to make sure that when you're dealing with the ingredients and the hot ingredients, it is kind of syrupy, and so you want to make sure that you don't get any on you or splashed in your eyes or anything, because they're very hot fluids, so just be careful for burns, etc. So alright, we've already prepared the fruit. As you can see here, we've got some nice looking figs my sister got for us, and she's actually running the camera today, so I appreciate her doing that. And we've prepared the fruit, we've cut up. The recipe calls for 5 cups of prepared fruit. Now this is probably a little bit more, but I always like to add a little bit extra fruit to what I'm doing. And it calls for 7 cups of sugar. It calls for half a cup of lemon juice. It calls a half a cup of water. And then we always put about a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of butter to the mixture. And what that does is it prevents it from foaming, and it's just an anti-foaming agent. It always helps. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the ingredients in the pot and get my coffee out of the way, and we will get started. So you want to add your fruit first. And I've already turned the burner on. Then we're going to add it's a half a cup of lemon juice that I measured out. And the ingredients call for half a cup of water. And like I said, we're going to add about a teaspoon of butter. And I always like to use real butter. I use the unsalted kind just because it's fruit, it's sweet. You can use salted, it's probably not going to hurt anything. And what we also want to do at this point is we want to add the fruit pectin. And you can buy different types of fruit pectin, different brands, I guess. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mix all this stuff together. If you want to come over, we'll show you how this looks as we're getting started. And you can see my butter in there. You can see I'm just kind of stirring it around. You want to make sure you're stirring it constantly. And in a minute, what we're going to do, we've measured and weighed out the ingredients. We've added all the fruit pectin. And you want to make sure later, I'll talk about, you don't want to cut back on the sugar, or it may fail to set up. So we're mixed all the ingredients together. We're going to keep it stirring. And again, butters prevent foaming. Just mix it around. Sounds like I got a little bit of water on the bottom of my pot. You want to bring it to a boil so that it doesn't stop boiling when you stir it. And that's when you know it's about ready. So we'll come back in just a second. It's going to take a little bit of time to heat up, so we'll come back in just a few minutes and catch back up. All right, you can see that we've got it. It's boiling pretty good right now, and that's about the roaring boil that you want to see. Don't let it splash on you like it happened. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start adding the sugar. You got to usually just kind of stir it in and add it as we're going. It's going to take a little bit of time to mix in real good. So some people add it a little bit of time and mix it first. I just kind of hold it here and go. It'll try to lump up a little bit, but it'll be okay. It'll melt. That's turning out pretty. See how it kind of takes on a glassy look, and that's going to be really good. Yeah, my sister's dog agrees. It's pretty. All right, so what we're going to do at this point, stop the video for a second. We're going to bring it back to a boil, to a roaring boil like we had a minute ago. And actually, I'll let it go. It shouldn't take too long. But you want to let it boil at a full boil when you stir it, that it doesn't knock it down. We're going to let it boil for 1 minute, exactly 1 minute. Okay, I'll stop the video a second. You can come over and look. And as it started with a roaring boil, I went ahead and started a timer. This part is very important. You do want to you want to let it boil for exactly 1 minute, and keep stirring while you're doing it. And you can see that it is foaming some. We're going to keep stirring it, try to knock down that foam. So one thing I wanted to mention, I didn't earlier. But when you add the lemon juice, the recipe is important to add. Don't take anything out, because for the pectin to work, the fruit acidity has got to be just right for it to work with the sugar and work with the fruit. So that's why we use the lemon juice in here. It just adjusts the pH of the fruit based on the different fruit. And there are different amounts based on different types of fruit that you want to use. All right, so we're coming in on 1 minute. And we want to remove it from the heat. And so one thing that I always like to do at this point, you see, I'm just you want to remove it from heat, because it's gonna boil too long, and I've cut the heat off. One thing I always like to do is I like to check it real quick. And so what I'll do is take a little bit and just put it in a little jar, a bowl. And you see I've had it in the freezer already. And I like to just set that in the freezer for just a minute, and just to see if it's going to set up. Okay, we've had it in the freezer for just a few minutes, and oh yeah, you can see it's pretty well set up, and that's going to turn out really good. That's a good indicator that it's going to set up really good. So actually, I'll give my sister the honors. She can try it out. So now what we want to do is, I've had the jars in the water bath, and they've been in there for about 10 minutes. And so one thing also I've had in here is I've got a ladle that I use. It's really it's good to use something stainless steel one like that with a wide mouth. So then we're just going to get started. If I could get a hold of one of these jars, we have to use a different one to start with. They're pretty packed in there. We've got a good batch of them in here. So what I'll do is, don't know if you can see this very well. So one thing we want to do, and everything is very hot, so just be extremely careful. So we're just going to ladle in the fruit. Usually takes about 2, and if I bring it to just the bottom of the ladle, it's just about right. You want to fill this jar to about a 1/4 inch from the bottom of the jar, and that'll set it up just right. So then what we want to do is wipe off the jar. You want to wipe the rim of it. Fruit there. And then we're going to take our magnet. This is probably one of the best things I've ever invested in, and you can get a little kit that has it in there. To get the lids out, you're going to place the lid on. Place a ring on, and don't tighten it too much. You want it not too snug. We're just going to set that aside and go to the next one. Again, everything we're doing here is extremely hot. You're dealing with boiling water. You're dealing with boiling fluids. And you can see there was a little bit of foam in there, but as I've stirred it, knock it down. So one thing I want to tell people also, I have seen at times that there'll be a little bit of foam that sits at the top, and I do tell people that I add butter to it, so sometimes you'll see a little bit of just something that looks unusual at the top, and that's okay. It's normal to see that. So we're going to wipe the top off. Give us a lid. And a ring. I want y'all to look at that. That is beautiful. That is going to turn out so good. All right. So there's a couple of them I've done. I'm going to stop the video and go ahead and process the rest of them, and then we'll come back and tell you how we finish everything up. All right, welcome back. So I've ladled in all the preserves into the jars. They're ready to go. I've actually, while I was doing that, I started the water bath back up again, because we're going to water bath these for 10 minutes. For preserves, you do 10 minutes. Jellies, it's 5. And so you got to be careful. Some people will reach in here and grab these things. Just be very careful when you go to get them. But you want to bring the rack out of the water bath and just set it down. Gets it ready for us to water bath these things. But again, the jars are going to be a little bit hot, so just be careful when you go to set them in. And if you want to come look and watch how we do this, you want to set them in there for starters, and I usually set them counter for each other, because the rack, first time I tried to do it, I loaded up on one side, and you can see it's trying to slip off over there as well. Just got to be very careful as you load them in. Don't let it slip off the side. When it slips, everything goes in the water, and it can splash up and get on you or get in your face. So as we're water bathing these things, the purpose of it is it heats them back up. It's going to boil off any air that might be in there, and it kind of produces a little steam pocket in the top of the 1/4 inch that we left. And you can see we've got them in there pretty good. These are about cooled off a little bit. You want to just cover the tops. You can hear them start to pop a little bit. As they were sitting over there, the seals and the lids were starting to seal down. So we're going to cover these up and let them boil for 10 minutes. Set the timer, and we'll be back in just about 10 minutes. All right, welcome back. I've kind of cleaned up a little thing. One thing I forgot to mention up front was, I've got the next batch going here, is you see we're at 10 minutes on the timer that we've water bathed. When you start with the water bathing of the jars, you want to make sure that your lids are boiling to sterilize them as well. Like I said earlier, I've got a nice handy magnet that helps get those out. I've tried a number of different things, and nothing seems to work as good as that magnet. So now we're ready to go ahead and get them out of the water bath. We'll turn that off. And as you can see, it's boiling pretty good. And best thing I've found to get these out is just you can use oven mitts or something like that. But just want to grab these with a paper towel. You want to tilt them a little bit to get the water off the top. And be careful of the seams, really bad. So then what I do is I take a paper towel and I just want to try to dry off the tops of them a little bit. And you can hear them starting to seal up. So the lids are convex, concave design, so that whenever they start to cool, the pressure that's in them will suck them back down on top. We'll suck them down harder. And you'll see in a minute when we get these out that as I put them out, and what I normally do is I try to grab it carefully because they are hot, and then I'll cinch down the lid to try to make sure it's got a good seal on it. I'll let you come back and do that at a later time as well. By drying them off, you could turn them over to get the water off the top, but if you turn them over, then the jelly gets all over, the jam gets all over the lid on the inside, and I always try to keep them. You want to not handle them as much as possible. You hear them popping already, so that means they're taking a good seal and a good set with regard to the jars. fact, I'm going to move away so that I have room to work. All right. I'll try to do this quickly. Some of those lids are a little bit loose from earlier when I put them in there. Again, you want to make sure that if you don't hear them right away, you want to make sure that you let these cool. And I normally will put them on a board, a cutting board, or a wooden table or something. And just you want to set them, an inch or two apart, and make sure that they you have some good room for some air to get around them to help them cool. All right. So I'm going to get the rest of them out and seal them off. But as you can tell, these things, they've turned out to be really, really pretty. You can see that they're not set up good now because we just water bath them and they're hot. But they're going to set up really nicely. All right, we'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to get the rest of them done. All right, well, welcome back. We've got all the jars out of the water bath now. We've tightened them down, cinched all the lids, and we actually heard some of them popping. And one thing you can do, you can actually just push on them, careful they're hot, and just push on them, make sure all of them have sealed really good. And those seals, those rubber seals, will take a form to the top of the jars. You can reuse the jars, reuse the lids, but do not reuse you reuse the rings, but don't reuse the lids because they'll deform a little bit based on the imperfections of the jar. So this is the fig preserves. First time we've done them. And I know they're going to set up great because we had that test jar that we did, test bowl of it that we did, and that's about it. Hopefully I was able to help you out. I'm glad you joined me to try to make fig preserves, and I thank my sister Diane for taking on the camera role this time, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks and have a great day.